Okay, hello and welcome to the second LFJ lecture, which is being organized by wakilsahab.com. I am Advocate Mehboob from Hyderabad, and we have been following people who have been doing, good work in the field of advocacy, activism, and some judicial work, and also teaching. So we have invited, such esteemed people to come and speak to us. So most of our audience is law students and lawyers, and today's talk actually is being attended by other people also. So it is connected with journalism and other things. So today's speaker, honorable speaker, is Mr. Rakesh Dubudo. So he is the founder of Factly.in. So which is a amazing initiative. It is on the topics of public policy, about discussing state policies and about fake news and other research work. So I have been following Sir's work from some time, and he's also into RTI. He's an RTI activist, and people like these are doing a lot of research so that we, the public at large, can improve our life in a holistic way. And we are very thankful to Rakesh sir to have obliged to speak to us today. And I'll just give the mic away to Rakesh sir. Thank you so much for coming to speak, sir. I would request every you know what do you say participant to kindly keep your mics muted. And also I'm also closing my video. Let us just listen to Rakesh sir. Thank you so much. Over to you, Rakesh sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Mehboob. So since we have, I think, very limited time, I also have to go at 7. So what we'll do is we'll try and get I know 45 minutes is not adequate time to understand this whole issue of fake news. What we'll try and do is get a quick snapshot, which will enable all of you to learn further, do further research, and probably look at your own areas of interest if you wish to pursue it further. So I will quickly start with talking about who creates fake news. I mean, though we call it fake news commonly, but globally this is not the lexicon. So the lexicon is officially or technically speaking, world over it is called misinformation or disinformation, depending on the intent of the one who is sharing it. So misinformation is false information, obviously, but the one who is consuming it, sharing it, forwarding it does not know it is false. So he may be doing it assuming it is true. So there, the intent is not his intention is not malified. He's just doing it out of ignorance. And more than 95% of the times, or even 99%, what happens in our family groups, in our circles, with our friends, with our parents, is all this, that they share false information, no doubt, but they share it assuming it is true. Then there is another term called disinformation, which is again false news. It's not true news, but false news, where the creator or the one who is sharing it, one who is consuming it, does it knowing it is false. So there is a malafide attached to it. So these are broadly two terms. So all of them clubbed into fake news. So because people understand fake news a lot more easier than misinformation, disinformation. So I'll kind of use fake news through the session. Please correlate fake news with mis or disinformation based on the context that I'm talking about. Let us start with a very simple question. I mean, who benefits by creating such news? Who do you think benefits? Any answers? Let this not be a monologue. Let this be a dialogue. Who do you think benefits from creating, sharing fake news? You can
Rakesh
type.
sir, do
Yeah,
you suggest people to write in the chat box,
yeah,
or
yeah.
or
You
use
can.
their mics?
They can type in the chat box. That is better, because mic again, multiple people might speak at the same time.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
Please put your points in the chat box. You're able to chat here, please.
yeah. My question is, who do you think benefits from creation of fake news, sharing of fake news? Who do you think benefits? Okay, political parties. Anybody else? Groups with intention to disrupt peace. Okay. The one who wants to create an imbalance in society. Okay. So more or less we are businessmen. Okay. Okay. Right. So there are multiple answers here. I mean, multiple views. All of them are in a way right. So let us broadly talk about who benefits and who creates. So broadly speaking, there are I would categorize them into three broad groups. The first one being there are a lot of financial economic interests in creation of fake news. What do you mean by financial interest? Because assume somebody is writing an article which is of course a conspiracy theory, a fiction right out of your brain. Nothing of that sort happened, but let's say involves some famous people, some historical figure or somebody, a celebrity or someone, whatever it is, full of fabricated information, but let's say a conspiracy theory which has a lot of spice in it, where people would like to read. Now, if that link is, let's say, shared on social media, forwarded, shared around, there is a great chance that a lot of people will share it and eventually come to that website and read. Now, what happens when people come to that website and read? Obviously, if in most cases ads are enabled, so the one who has created such piece of misinformation or fake news stands to get benefited financially. So financial benefit is a big motivator for fake news. When I say financial benefit, largely through ads, clickbait ads. So for instance, you also, I'm sure most of you consume content on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, even as humans, we tend to click on that thumbnail which looks most interesting. I mean, something that appeals to us. So sometimes the thumbnail and the content do not match. The thumbnail might say something else, which is a very sensational title, but the content could be very insipid. So the first very important motivation is financial motivation for people who create fake news. Then the second big motivation is interest groups. Now, some of the answers that were put in the chat, like political parties, groups wanting to disrupt peace, the ones who are trying to create imbalance, or somebody who is trying to target another business, whatever. So all of these are interest groups. Now, what do we mean by interest groups? Now, interest groups could mean groups based on ideology. It is possible that there are groups based on ideology. So, for instance, political parties or which stand to benefit from creation and consumption of fake news, because you're targeting your adversaries, their leaders, etc., etc. So political parties could be one interest group. Then there could be another interest group which is let's say religion could be an interest group, where you want to show around that your religion is superior to another religion. Then there could be interest groups of businesses, where one business wants to target another business. So there are multiple interest groups. So interest groups is one common reason. And here also there's a lot of people are using ideologies and prejudices to further their interests. So for instance, if it's religion or political parties, there is a greater chance that people will resonate with those ideas, because naturally a lot of us are connected to religion or find refuge in religion. Very few of us are atheist in that sense. So religion is the perfect breeding ground for sharing anything that could spread rapidly. Not everything about religion is fake. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is religion becomes a very important and interesting interest group for somebody to start sharing fake news. Political parties, of course, because they stand to benefit politically and in elections to malign their adversaries. So this is a very well-known tool that is used. Now people across the spectrum use it. Yes, to varying degrees. Some parties use it more. Some parties may not use it to that extent, but it is now widespread across. Then the other interest groups could be simply you just want to prove that you are better than the other, or you want to prove there is some supremacy theory that you want to prove you are the best. There could be, for instance, let's say alternate medicine could be an interest group. That means you believe in alternate medicine. You don't believe in the let's say modern medicine of allopathy. You believe in whatever alternate medicine. Could be Ayurveda, could be homeopathy, could be Unani, could be anything. So you are in that interest group, then suddenly that could also become a reason, because you want to prove that this is better than that. So there are varied interest groups. So these financial incentives is the first one. Then second one is the interest groups. Third one is not a very well defined group. It is a simply people just doing it out of fun, or just to see that whether they'll get those eyeballs, whether they'll be able to create something that is viral. You talk about these social experiments, or a lot of these hoaxes. People go and create videos on social experiments and all this. So the third could be that, very, I mean, not a very well connected groups, but people do it out of the sheer uh, want to create something that goes viral. So these are the creators. Now let us talk a little bit about types. Now, what could be the types of fake news that we come across? So somebody was asking, can you give an example of fake news which is going around at the present times? Not one, but there are so many that go around, and we come across so many, in our own work. Some of them could be really harmful. Some of them may not be that harmful when you look at them. May not seem that they are harmful, but at the end of the day, please understand, fake news is fake news. It doesn't matter whether something is harmful or harmless. As long as information is false, information is misleading, or there is no proper context, it is misinformation. It is false news. So you should not start grading or start attaching values to these fake news, saying this is good, this is bad. At the end of the day, anything that is false, anything that makes you believe in something that is false, is actually making us gullible. In the sense, when I am saying making us gullible, it is only over time we then tend to believe anything that is false. Over time we become that, right? So let's start with can you give me host access, Mahbub?
Yes, sir, giving.
Yeah.
Given, sir.
Yeah. I'm hoping you can all see my screen, right?
I can see, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So if you have anything, just you can type in the chat.
Okay, sir.
Right. So let's start with how many of you have seen this picture? Just type it in the chat. How many of you have seen this picture? Not seen? No, no. Or can you identify the man in the picture? Sundar Pichai. Okay, good. So he's the CEO of Google, one of the well-known tech companies. Now, do you think this picture? I mean, it's a very innocuous-looking picture. He's seen with a bunch of people. Could be students and all that. Right. Do you think, in your opinion, this picture could be used to spread fake news? Do you think that this picture could be used to spread fake news? If yes, how? Yes. Okay. You think it is yes. How? How do you think this picture could be used? Mohammad Safi, who said yes. Can you please tell me? Depends on the creativity of the spammer, right? Okay, fine. So I, just to demonstrate that there is nothing that is ineligible, so to speak, to create fake news. This is a very innocuous looking picture, harmless, like a very happy picture, right? So right. So how was it used to create misinformation? So this went viral during the general elections in 2019, the Lok Sabha general elections. So I don't know how many of you watched this Tamil movie Sarkar. Vijay was the lead actor. So he's an NRI he comes to vote and all that. So this picture was used in the context of elections, saying that Sundar Pichai came back to India during that time just to vote, and it was more like a Sarkar moment that we should all take inspiration from him and vote. Now on the outside it looks like why it's a very positive message. It inspires people to vote. Why should there be a problem about it? So like I told you in the very beginning and just a while ago that please don't start qualifying fake news with good or bad. There is nothing good or bad, nothing positive about fake news. As long as the information is wrong, I mean, there are no two ways about it. We shouldn't share it, we shouldn't consume it. So over time, they only make us gullible and they make us believe a lot of things that are not true. So coming back to this picture, obviously he is not, so Sundar Pichai is not even a citizen of India, so obviously he can't vote. This picture was unrelated to elections. He went to his alma mater to, I think, to see how his old hostel was, etc. So that was the context of the picture. So mis and disinformation that I told you, what are the reasons? There are various reasons why we have a lot of misinformation and fake news today. It does not mean that we didn't have fake news earlier. We did have fake news even thousands of years ago, even in our mythological stories. But the thing is, what is unique about today? What is unique about today is the speed. How technology tools are amplifying the impact of fake news. That's the big problem. News always existed, such false news always existed, but the problem today is the amplification that happens with all the tools that we have, and because of that amplification, the kind of impact that it can have on society. So that's a bigger worry, right? I see a lot of random lines. Who is that? Okay. Then just to give you, a glimpse of globally, there is a definition for mis and disinformation. There are 7 types of mis and disinformation. This is a definition from the one Miss Claire Waddell, who leads an institution called First Draft. So it's a very well-known think tank which does a lot of research on mis and disinformation. So they put out this saying there are 7 common forms of the information disorder that we are currently facing. Satire, parody, which you all know, it is satire, which has always existed. Why is satire a form of misinformation? I'll tell you in a while. Then we have misleading content. When I say misleading content, it is misleading use of information to frame an issue or an individual. So misleading, I mean, you take something true, but the context is different. Imposter is you take genuine sources and impersonate those genuine sources. Fabricated content is something that is 100% false, made up conspiracy theories. False connections, headlines, thumbnails don't support the content. So a lot of what you see on YouTube is like that. So thumbnail says something else while the content says something else. Then false context, genuine content is shared with false contextual information. That's what we see a lot of times these days. Manipulated content is your Photoshop, where you actually edit something in a picture, in a video, and things like that. So I'll talk about few examples of each so that you understand it in more detail. Right. So satire or parody is nothing but it's just pure satire meant to entertain. But the problem with this is a lot of people think satire to be true and keep sharing. That's the problem with satire. So for instance, I don't know if you saw this first one on the left side. So this went viral, I think last year, where it said man fake being deaf and dumb for 62 years to avoid listening to his wife. Now, a lot of people felt it is true. It was widely shared and thousands of shares, etc. But the fact of the matter is it was a satirical story published somewhere. There are a lot of satirical websites like Faking News in India, like The Onion in the US. So all of these are satirical websites. What do we mean by satirical websites? They are, they write fictional stories meant to be satire and humor. But if people take them to be true, that's where the problem is. For instance, there are a lot of parody accounts on social media, especially on Twitter. What do we mean by parody accounts? So Limes of India, which is trying to mimic Times of India. Times How, which is trying to mimic Times Now. And ANI Official, which is trying to, mimic ANI, etc. What it means is, if you look at the description carefully, all of them say parody, parody, parody. What it means is they're not real accounts. They're trying to use the well-known names of real accounts and trying to there's nothing wrong in being parody account. The problem with parody is when people take them to be true. So there have been many occasions where people took them to be true and shared. That's a problem. The second is misleading content, where you misleading use of information to frame an issue. So for instance, on the left side, if you see, the Pakistani representative to the United Nations shared this picture a couple of years ago, alleging that India is committing human rights violations in Kashmir, and she said this picture is proof that a woman from Kashmir is injured with pellet guns and all that. While she wanted to address the issue of pellet guns and use of force in Kashmir, but unfortunately the picture she used is not from Kashmir. It is from Gaza. So a Palestinian women injured from Gaza. So while the issue was something else, she was using a wrong picture, misleading use of information to frame an issue. So that is one example. On the right side, you see it's actually an art installation from Spain, but it went viral in multiple countries. So every time there's an income tax or an ED raid on a politician, so you see this video being shared saying, how my politician is burning cash just to avoid being caught by the officials. So again, it's an art installation being used. So there are multiple examples like this. The rightmost one, I think, is pretty well known. I'm sure most of you have come across, saying this girl is an IAS topper and this is her father. She was going through the streets of Kolkata after topping the IAS. How inspirational and all that. Now, while all that is fine, she's not an IAS topper. It's a Wildcraft ad shoot. So in fact, if you see the on the back, the actual story is it's actually a Wildcraft ad shoot, and people spun a story around it and then just shared around. Again, there could be people who say, it's a positive message, it's true and all that, but please understand, like I said in the beginning, there is nothing positive, negative about fake news. Then imposter content, the third one, when genuine sources are impersonated. When I say genuine sources, for example, there are a lot of credible names, like BBC is a credible name. So BBC is quite often used in India. BBC's name is used to say, this is the list of 10 most corrupt parties. I'm sure quite a few of you must have received this entire, all these things. Curiously enough, in all these posts, the fourth place goes to a party from India, and supporters of one party share it as as a picture related to the other party. So the same picture went viral in the name of BJP, Congress, TDP, and whatnot. Name anything, it went viral. So again, BBC's name is attached. The reason being, it is credible. People believe BBC to be true. So it is called imposter content. Imposter content simply means you use a credible name so that there is a greater factor of believability, and share what you want to. Same thing with, Times of India is a name and all that. Fabricated content is 100% false. Nothing of that sort exists. So a lot of examples. I'll share this later. Since we have very little time, I'll just quickly browse through. Fabricated is just completely false. So I'll just give one example, again, a very funny example on the right side. So which says, do not eat a mixture of, I think, banana and egg at the same time, because it forms poison and people die. And this picture is shared as an example of people who consumed egg and banana together, and they passed away and all that. As funny as it may look, these are actually medical misinformation which went viral, especially in the context of COVID now. We see a lot of medical misinformation. So this is 100% fabricated, nothing of that sort exists. A lot of such things. Then false connection is when headlines, visuals, captions don't support the content. For example, when the Balakot strike happened, when after the Pulwama attack, when India.
Excuse me, Rakesh sir. We have someone who is trying to put some sketches on this thing screen. So
Okay.
Let me remind that I don't know like who is that. I'm not doing it. I'm requesting those persons, please don't disturb the meeting, don't disturb the presentation. Please if you're not interested, leave the group, please.
Okay. Fine. So coming back to what we were discussing. So this, for example, this video went viral. In fact, some media channels also showed it as exclusive footage as India's attack after the Pulwama incident. India attacked in Balakot. But as we know, this footage is taken from a video game, and it went viral like crazy. Then a lot of such information. I'll share this content with you. Don't worry. A lot of such examples. Manipulated content is like the 100% you just edit images. So on the right side, for example, 1591 Charminar was being built, and this is the photograph. But little did they know that when Charminar was being built, there were no. I think camera was not even invented. Then you have Abhinandan, who became a hero after after India's in the Pulwama aftermath. So they took a shop in London and just attached his photo and said, now there are fans of Abhinandan in London, and they started a chai shop in his name. Right. So this is just briefly about the types of misinformation and the creation. I'll like to spend some time on what you can do as consumers, because most of us are consumers of misinformation, fake news. What we can do at our level, I mean, how can we contribute and stop the spread of misinformation? Then we'll talk about a few solutions. Then finally come to if there is, like Mahbub was asking, if there is any law to deal with this. So one of the things before even getting to how you can, get started, first and foremost, I would suggest trust your instinct. Now, when I say instinct, all of us have an instinct. Whenever we look at something, whenever we read something, there is an instinct. Something tells us that something could be true or false. Please trust your instinct, but except when it is against your ideology. So when I say against your ideology, so I think there's a question. Yeah, we'll have specific time for questions. Don't worry, last 5-10 minutes we'll leave for questions. So where was I? Yes. So trust your instinct, except when the information suits your ideology. So if you receive something that actually supports, substantiates the beliefs, your belief system, your ideology, it is time to kind of wear the devil's advocate hat. So except that time, all other times you can trust your instinct. And anything that is too good to be true will never be true. When I say too good to be true, if the moment you see something, you wonder, how can this happen? Is this really true, etc. Most of the times it could be false. That aside, now how do we get started? One of the things you could do, always, whenever you receive anything, always ask for the source. So I'm sure most of you receive stuff on social media, personal messaging apps, could be WhatsApp, or could be on social media like Twitter, Facebook, etc. So if you're part of groups, if you're part of the first and foremost, what I would suggest is check the source or ask the source. So if you're part of a WhatsApp group in your family, and somebody is sharing something, politely ask them, what is the source? Now, they may not even the source because they have just forwarded what they got. Now, if the chain continues and they start asking what is the source in their groups and all that, the chain continues, we might actually find out who shared it. So you will eventually realize there is obviously no such source. So obviously something that does not have a source is definitely not credible information. So always check the source or ask for the source. This is a great habit. If you can cultivate this habit, and in whichever group you're part of, see, in most groups, a lot of them are silent spectators. People don't involve themselves. There are very few people who are active. So if you are the one who is active, always ask for sources. Anything that is received in the group, if you feel there is something dicey, not just in groups, even on social media, your friends post something, somebody posts something in your circles, start asking sources. Again, politely, we are not trying to pick up a fight with them. We are politely asking, what is the source and where is this? Second is read. A lot of times we don't tend to read completely. We just read few lines and say, okay, this is good, and we forward. So read completely. Always check who is the author. I mean, who is saying it? Is this a known name, credible name, etc.? Ask Google, etc. I'll come a little later. When I discuss technology, I'll come to Google. Always verify statistics, because a lot of misinformation or fake news is also about stats. Always the verify stats is again closely linked to source, because if somebody is sharing the source with you, it ought to have stats with it. Get out of your bubble. When I say get out of your bubble, one of the things that you could do is always start having conversations with people who may not share the same ideology, or who may not share the same kind of opinion as you. So start interacting, start engaging with people who may share contrarian opinions. Why do I say that? Because we all started living in our own echo chambers, and something comes in, we believe, we feel happy and all that. But please understand, the world is different. So only when you engage with people who may have different opinions, contrarian opinions, you may not agree with them, that is fine, but we won't be able to understand. And that change in mindset of not believing something will only come when you start engaging with such groups and people. So please get out of your bubble and echo chambers, reach out to specialists could be fact checkers, or people who might know the fact behind something. So don't, before blindly believing or forwarding, reach out to them. There are a lot of tools that you could use. Simple Google search, I'll show you some examples. There's something known as reverse image search. Like Google search, there is also image search. You can take an image and do a reverse image search on any of the existing search engines like Google, Yandex, Bing, etc. You can also do video analysis. If you get a video and you want to find where the video is from, you could do some search or break the video into frames and then do a reverse image search very similar to that. Then there are advanced search in Google and Twitter. If you want to find specific pieces of information, specific file types within a specific domain and all that, these advanced search tools are, very important tools for such kind of operations. Then there is Fact Check Explorer, Web Archive. I'll come to them a little later. Right. Before that, let me, I'll share a few things with you. We can. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Right. So right now, I said ask Google. Why should we ask Google? We'll see. Can anybody tell me something that you received in the last few days and you felt it is false? Anything, any information that you received recently, any information that you interacted and you know it is false, or you don't know whether it's false or true? Anything? You can just type in the chat. Okay, local corona medicines. What do you mean by local corona? Be more specific. Okay, fine. Let's. Okay, Kafil Khan got bail. Okay, fine. So there are some few examples in the chat. Giving 2,000 to everyone. Okay. Government giving 2,000 to everyone. COVID relief. Now, when you do this basic Google search, right? Now, what is important for you to understand is, so what Google as a technology company, because many of us depend on Google for our for finding information. So what they're doing is they're trying to use information created, fact checks created by fact checkers to give out search results in a slightly different format. So if you, for example, look at the search results, while all of the other search results are fine, fact check, etc., there is one typical search result that is slightly differently marked. If you look at the difference, it says claim, who claimed it, what is a fact check. So this is called the fact check widget. So Google is trying to identify from a few fact checkers, like, here it is given as Logical Indian, like Factly, or a few others. Their content is prominently displayed in a very different format. So this is called the fact check widget. So for any information, if you see this, it means it is already fact checked. You can go and read this article and you'll get the truth. So for instance, long back, there was a viral post which said, if you wait 3 minutes at the toll gate, you'll be allowed free of cost more than 3 minutes. Now, again, there is a fact check. Again, Factly is fact check. So it is displayed slightly differently, right? In the recent days, for example, Coronil, which is a medicine by Baba Ramdev, approval. Did it get approval? Coronil approval. I mean, if there is a fact check on this, again, yes, there are fact check. So On Google, this is something that is very, very useful. So when you're doing Google search for anything that you may have received on WhatsApp or any other engine, always look for the fact check result. So the fact check result is slightly different. So, right? Then the same thing is applicable on YouTube also. So on YouTube, because we consume a lot of video content on YouTube, even on YouTube. So if you search a relevant keyword, so for example, a few days ago there was this viral fake news about Honda giving Activa free. It was trying to give Activa free. Fine. Now look at this. So when you type that, it means there is a fact check already. So Factly and Alt News and all that. So which says that this particular thing could be false. So you can click on this fact check. You will go and read the fact check. So on YouTube also, Google is trying to do the same. So whenever you are searching for relevant content, and if that content has a fact check, it is called. So Google is trying to do this. So whenever on Google and on YouTube, please look out for these independent fact checks. On YouTube, it will look something like this. On Google, like I said, it will look something like the widget that I showed you, this widget. It will be very different from other results. If you, in fact, compare this page, sorry. If you compare this result with this result, they're very, very different. So this result is shown very differently. So this is called the fact check widget. So always look for the fact check widget either on Google or on YouTube. This is a very, very easy and fast way of finding out misinformation. What you can also do is you can see something known as the Fact Check Explorer by Google. So if you type Fact Check Explorer, you'll get a link. It's called Fact Check Explorer by Google. So it is nothing but, it is also like simple Google search, but the only difference is here you are searching for only the fact checks. So all the fact checks written by well-known organizations which are credible and all that, they're all indexed. So here you can only search for fact checks. You can't. This is not a normal search engine. It's only for a fact check. So same thing. If I type Kafil Khan, for example, somebody was talking about Kafil Khan. So you will see all the fact checks. Somebody said Kafil Khan was released on bail. It says false, right? So all the fact checks that are written will be here. So for this, what do you have to type? You have to type the Fact Check Explorer on Google. You will get a link and use this link to find out. This is what Google has been doing. Another important technology platform, which is of course Facebook, which all of us use quite often. Now, what is Facebook doing? Now, Facebook is doing things slightly differently. So it ties up with somebody known as the third-party fact checkers. So we are also part of the third-party fact-checking program of Facebook. So what we do is there are, so whenever we come across false content, we rate that false content. What do we mean by rate that false content? We write articles and say this particular content may be false, this particular content may be true, etc., etc. Now, when we rate that content, what Facebook is doing is it is doing an overlay. What is an overlay? I'll tell you what is an overlay. If I'll share my screen. Yeah. Can you see my screen, all of you? Right. So somebody shared this information, which says this is the, I don't know if you're able to see, but they're saying this is the design of the Ram Mandir that is going to be built in Ayodhya. The foundation stone will be laid on August 5th. Now, again, if some fact checker rates, it will be shown like this. So whoever interacts with this content will know this is false information. False information checked by independent fact checkers. You will find this on Facebook. And when you say see why, it shows you the fact check article, relevant article. Why is this false? So this is from Factly. Same thing with any such false information. This is also false information. So on the below the false information, you will see a related article again, which says, of course, it is in Telugu, but it says this is false. So what Facebook is trying to do is this. Facebook is doing slightly differently compared to Google. So they tie up with third-party fact checkers like us. We are one of them in India. We try to rate content and automatically one labeling happens like that, false information labeling. Secondly, the distribution of such content also reduces on the platform. So if some content is labeled or rated as false or misleading or incomplete, etc., so suddenly the distribution goes down. So these are some of the tech solutions. So top two takeaways, if you ask me, for you from the session, if tomorrow you want to address misinformation, is very clearly go to Google. Always, check with Google if such similar information has been fact checked, and see for the widget. Same thing with YouTube. And on Facebook, when you're interacting with content, see for the labels. So if the moment there is a label, it clearly means that something is false information. Coming to these are some of the solutions. Now coming to let us look at if there is any law, if there is any uh, legal framework to take care of such somebody who creates or somebody who shares. See, unfortunately, there is no dedicated or specific law for fake news, and there are multiple opinions about this. So one is that we should not allow government, because it is all boils down to free speech. We can't have very rigid regulatory framework, because it might also tomorrow the governments might use such a framework to even to frame individuals who may not have a favorable opinion of the government. So there are multiple opinions whether to have a regulatory framework which is very rigid and strict or not. While that is the case, some countries are trying to. Singapore has a law which asks in the Singapore law. So whenever anybody publishes false information, the Singapore authority sends them a notice asking them to clarify on wherever, if it is social media or something. So there are some countries which are trying with changes in law. As far as India is concerned, we don't have a dedicated or specific law for fake news, but anything that some of the existing provisions in our legislations do cover. For instance, if something is hate speech, something results in real world harm on the ground, you can automatically booked under existing IPC provisions. Anything that leads to violence on ground. So if it is hate speech, then 153A will come in, and so on and so forth. So existing provisions can be used, but not on all occasions. Especially, for example, since we are in COVID times, for example, 41A CRPC. This is a good question. In fact, 41A CRPC was one of the frequently asked, since you're lawyers. It was fact checked by us already. I'll paste the link. You can read this. Right. Coming back to laws, yes, there is no law, especially with respect to disasters. Now we are talking about COVID. There is Section 54 of the National Disaster Management Act, which talks about anybody sharing any information which creates panic, which is false information and creates panic. They can be arrested and booked under the NDM Act of 2005. Yes, so there are two parts to this answer. Do we have a law to deal with fake news? Of course, we don't have a law. But there are provisions within existing laws which can deal with either creators, people who share, etc. If they lead to, either could be violence on ground, either could be, if any of the existing provisions in any law is violated, they can certainly be booked, right? So that is about as far as law is concerned. For you, I mean, my final message to you, and we'll open up for questions. My message to you would be, at an individual level, please don't become carriers of misinformation. Like you do not want to become carriers of COVID. Don't become carriers of misinformation or fake news. So stop it at your level. Let that herd immunity come in. Herd immunity will come in only when you stop at your level. You don't become the carrier for 10 others. So how do you stop? Become carriers for right information. Become carriers for fact checking. Don't become carriers of false information. Like I said, once it comes to you, always ask for the source from the one who sent it. If they are not able to do that, push them to ask for source, because they might have got it from somewhere. They also don't know the source. So at least that habit of that, we should inculcate that culture of asking for sources, asking questions, asking the right questions. And if everything else fails, like I said, go back to Google, go back to YouTube. If you're consuming on YouTube, ask the right questions. I'm sure for most of the fake news that goes viral, 95% of the times, somebody must have written a fact check around it. So you'll get automatically you'll get the right information about it.
Sir, thank you very much. Amazing, enlightening talk, sir. And we have found a lot of new knowledge regarding news, fake news, and how to search that. I think we have benefited a lot from this. I would want to exercise the organizer's privilege by asking the first question to you. I would also request other guys to please put in the chat box. I just wanted to thank. I'm just using voice mode now. My question is, sir, in the previous years, has any particular media organization, some website, some newspaper, have they been prosecuted? Some any punishment was given to them for spreading fake news? Kindly answer.
Not really. No. See, certain cases have been booked by certain state governments saying, they have been spreading false news, but none of them have resulted in any. We haven't come that far.
Dear participants, please, if you have any questions, this is the time. You have what do you say, a fake news expert with us. Don't miss this chance. Please ask your questions in the chat box, please.
Yeah, so somebody is saying we should not type good morning messages because Chinese people steal our personal information. No, very simple. How can Chinese people steal your information as long as only when they own the technology or only when they own the devices? So don't believe such information. Yes, there could be certain apps on your phone which might be looking at your information, reading your information without your knowledge, but this blanket statement is false. So people who check coronavirus even tell healthy people to be corona positive. Not really. There could be false positives. I don't deny, but at least governments have been strict about it. You can't just be. There could be false positives because there's something known as the sensitivity specificity rate. Like with everything else, there could be margin of error, but what you're hearing is not true. How long before we have a provision against fake news? Like I said, see, there are two points of view. Two points of view. So one point of view is that we should have a very strict regulatory framework or a law against fake news, whereas the other thing is we should not have such thing. We should not allow governments like that, because tomorrow the government might use anything that is critical of them to label you as a fake news spreader and put you behind bars. So we kind of there are two I would say opposing points of view. So I don't think we'll get anything soon. We might get some kind of regulatory framework in terms of the intermediary rules, but we have to wait and watch. Something might come in the next 6 to 12 months. How do you define fake news? Like I told you, there is a wide definition of fake news. I don't know if you missed in the beginning. I'll share the slides with you. There is a wide variety of definitions, 7 different forms of misinformation. You can look through that.
Rakesh, I have a question. Sanjay here. Sanjay Gadade.
Sanjay.
Rakesh, the problem is in perception. You see, the issues are at the moment that fake news has become all pervasive, which is essentially making it difficult to make out the reality itself. So in an environment which is actually overburdened with fake news, you see what's happening is that the fake news is being presented in such a manner that actually it is like a post-truth. The whole piece is not untrue, even though it might be having a proper title. Inside the content is completely misleading, which essentially means the ability to differentiate fake news from what is really what is the real news or the real news item over there. One has to be massively informed. And that is a practical impossibility in today's time. Okay. So essentially, if we do not restrict our own exposure to irrelevant maybe groups or activities, and we don't have the cognitive ability to differentiate properly, we might ourselves become generators of fake news.
Yes.
Even without knowing.
Yes.
Now, this is something which has to come across to all the groups, and it's a very important role that the lawyers have to be able to make people understand, the hoi polloi understand, that this itself, even though you might not be knowing that you actually are creating the fake news with all honest intentions, it is actually, we become the part of the problem in generating and creating the fake news.
Yes. Yeah, like you, Sanjay, like you rightly said, I'm not suggesting or meant. I'm not saying that there is a silver bullet solution.
There
At an
cannot
individual,
be.
yeah. So
There just cannot be.
at an individual level, we are doing what we are doing. There have to be a lot of short-term, long-term measures. In fact, we did a study last year where we said you can't just have a one-size-fits-all solution. It has to start from ground up to the top. So ground up is a long-term solution. You know include all this in the school curriculum, encourage children to ask questions, encourage children to at that level to differentiate from a piece of news what could be questionable, what could be credible, etc. So all that cognitive ability has to start from the very beginning at a child in the child's.
No algorithm can actually replicate the human mind and the knowledge sense.
Exactly.
Because
So it
even
has.
alt news, for example, when Pratik was here, I think over the last 2 years,
Hmm,
he has come on 2 occasions
hmm,
at La Makan as well at
yes.
at the Lit Fest and all.
Hmm,
So when you query him and quiz him
hmm,
about the efficacy, he's in touch with me also through both Facebook as well as WhatsApp.
hmm.
I find that it is less than 8 to 10% reliable. Whatever he comes out from alt news as well, he just does not have the firepower to identify what is mixed up into a fake and create into a fresh news. So only the reliable sources actually matter now.
Definitely. So no, that's what I'm saying. So we should start with doing what we can, even if it's a very small level, and even if it addresses only 5%, 10% of the problem. So which is why there are a lot of stakeholders here. We are not suggesting that individuals like us or it's lawyers or just schools. So we need multi-stakeholder approach to solve this problem. It has to start from
Everybody is a
academic.
stakeholder. In fact,
Yes. So
everybody is a participant.
we are in it together. It is not as if the technology companies, governments, academia, media, schools, everybody is in it together. I'm only trying to suggest that at least at an individual level, let us start somewhere. I mean,
So very rightly, as you say, you need to empower individually yourself so that
yes,
you don't become a part of the problem.
true, very true.
Thank you, Sanjay sir. Thank you, Rakesh sir. We are actually at the end of the talk. I would suggest Rakesh sir to answer some questions from the chat box, and whenever he feels he is done, we can wrap up,
Yeah.
please.
Is there any provision in law to prove which news is fake news? See, like I said, there is no specific provision in law. Like I said, if any provision in law is broken, like if it inspires hate, if it leads to hate, then your IPC will take care and things like that. There's no specific law to address fake news. Which evidence act section prove it is fake news? No, like I said, there's no specific thing like that. CBSE removed again. This is partly true. It is only for this year because 30% of the syllabus had to be cut because of the COVID thing. Fake news is illegal. Okay, like I said, bringing in a law, there are multiple opinions. I am hoping that something will happen in the next 6 to 12 months with respect to the intermediary laws. It's a starting point. Let's see where the conversation goes. So I'll kind of end it now. So it's already 7. Thank you, Mehboob. Thank you for inviting me. All of you, please start engaging with such. You start at your level. Don't become purveyors or spreaders of fake news. Start at your level. I'm sure once you start doing this questioning, I know it might be slow. You might have the urge to forward something very soon, but stop. Once you start doing it, you'll feel the kind of surveys, the kind of things that you're doing. So I'll share some of the slides that I used to Mehboob. He can probably forward them to you. Thank you. And if you have any questions, my email is with Mehboob. He'll share it with you. You can always shoot an email to me.
Thank you very much, Rakesh sir. It has been a pleasure, hosting you. I believe we have learned a lot, and I think this is just the beginning. I would also request all our participants to please go to this site regularly, factly.in. So it is the today's speaker and this website. These are all internationally award-winning platforms. They are doing phenomenally good work in terms of providing knowledge to us about public policies and information and disinformation and fake news. So I'm really thankful from wakilsahab.com platform to Rakesh sir for taking out his very valuable time to educate us on this. So we all need good, great teachers like you. So it was a very nice session, sir. We'll try to upload this on YouTube soon. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mehboob. Thank you, all of you. I hope it was useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.